What sort of country allows such moral decadence to the level where you have lowered the threshold of sexual intercourse to 10-year-olds and 8-year-olds, and it becomes business as usual? But as Senator Ndwiga says, what responsibility have we taken? In my case, Mr. Speaker, let me tell you, I have a relative who I got into life imprisonment for impregnating a standard 6 school child in my village. In the last 1 year, we have not had a case of any person looking at a schoolgirl, just looking. But I have instances, like that particular instance, I discovered the chief, the OCS, the family were negotiating, land had been sold, they had agreed to pay 200,000. I am watching brief in a case in Machakos. They are offering now to marry the child so that they can deal with the question of defilement. Police stations, my dear senators, have become shops where policemen are doing cases on rape and defilement. They determine, and the quantum is 200,000, you pay, forget about it, parents are making money out of this. Parents are equally to blame. How does a child become pregnant, first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, when the stomach is this big, and then we start making noise? Teachers, I have refused in my law firm to represent anybody who commits incest, sleeps with a child. I don't represent them, and neither does any lawyer in my firm represent such characters. When we read the statistics, Mr. Speaker, these are statistics of pregnant teenagers. Just statistics. If Narok you have 40%, those are statistics of pregnant teenagers, not the ones who are having sex. It means there are more. It's not a laughing matter. It's a serious issue. Children of 10 years have become fair game. Shame on the men of this country. We have lowered the standards of morality. We buy sweets. We buy so many incentives. The ones in Makueni, and you're not talking about the children who have been, the boys who have been sodomized. While we talk about girls, there are boys who have been sodomized. I've gotten somebody arrested for sodomizing 9 boys in Mboni constituency. Mr. Speaker, let's take action. Let's start with ourselves. What have you done as a leader to ensure that you do not have this in your village? Any person, whether it's your relative, your brother, send them to jail. That is the only way they will learn the lessons. It's not enough, Mr. Speaker, to stand here and pontificate and make so much noise, because these things are happening in your villages. If it's 40% in Narok, 33 in Homa Bay, chances are out of the 40%, one of those people is your relative, is your cousin, long distance, something. Let's take action and come here with tangible results. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
One of the strongest penalties that will be applied to the men who will do this, and the penalty is to scoop those engines, those organs, those reproductive organs that are performing this, so that when they are scooped with a very nice or a fine surgeon, they cannot perform this.
Order members. Senator Outa, what is your point of intervention?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you've had a senator bringing another dimension of scooping the organs. Mr. Speaker, is she in order to use those words in this parliamentary words in this house? And when she states that they ever need to be scooped, is it for both the children and the adults that are involved in this engagement?
Honorable Senator, maybe you may need to explain how the scooping is done and what do you mean, because otherwise it will be unparliamentary.
Yes, sir.
Off record.
I'll use this. I'll use the other one. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I'll use this one, even if it's refusing to accept. Mr. Speaker, sir, when I mean scooping, this is going to be done medically. A surgeon with no consent to remove the protective parts of men who have done this act, so that men can learn. And I would wish only 5 to serve as an example. And my Senator Outa here, you know the area very well. They need to remove the whole part. The whole part. So that when you are there, you heal with the reasoning that what you did is not deserved in the country of Kenya and even in our generation. Mr. Speaker, sir, even if they send these men to jail, they will still do that. And we have already had cases of what is happening in our prisons. So if they go with these instruments in the chain, they will still do it. So we feel like scooping, removing is the best solution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
An opportunity to interact with these teenage girls in Makueni last month during the International Day of the Girl Child. And some of the issues they brought up include being lured by these men. The girls are innocently busy doing their own things, and the men are busy luring these girls into these vices. Mr. Speaker, we really do live in a very perverted society. And in fact, I'm aware, I've had on social platforms amongst the men where they share pornographic material. And in one instance, a friend shared with me that he was shocked when somebody shared pictures of his own niece who's in high school. And he quit from that group and tried to tell the men not to do it. What society are we living in? It is really, really a shame, Mr. Speaker, sir. I pray that we can have our male leaders spearheading this. As much as we women are doing it, it is not enough. The men need to rise up. They need to pick up this battle. And let's not leave as if it is not also our girls who are being affected. The men here are also parents of girls. So we need to protect our children. We need to protect the future of this country. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Girls, because they become mothers while they're in school, then they should go to marriage stops and other organizations to procure abortion. Abortion is still illegal. It is still outlawed in the Constitution, and Parliament has not passed any other legislation to allow young girls to go for abortion. Finally, Mr. Speaker, when someone is caught with scrap metal from the standard gauge railway, they are jailed for life. And the charge is that they are sabotaging the economy of the nation. And we have about 12 people who are facing life sentence in our courts of law. What could be the greatest sabotage to the economy and the future of a nation than to spoil the young girls and to impregnate them? Mr. Speaker, we need to look at the Sexual Offences Act. Senator Mutula Kilonzo says that he has already ensured someone has been jailed for life. We need to make sure that these pedophiles are jailed for life. And very finally, the Sexual Offences Act requires a registrar to maintain a register of offenders. Mr. Speaker, today, if you want to become the Speaker of the Senate of Kenya, you will be asked for your clearance from Higher Education Laws Board, Kenya Revenue Authority, Credit Reference Bureau. We must add to that you must not be listed on the register of sexual offenders. That should be a mandatory consideration for anyone who aspires for public office. And Mr. Speaker, from the conversations that we are having and what we have heard about men eaters and child eaters, if we insisted on that, probably half of this parliament will not be eligible to run again. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, honorable members, for the convenience of the House, we go to order number 8 and come back.